Watch the real-life program about exceptional destinies, remarkable opportunities, and unbelievable facts right now.
You can see the ruins of a plant rather than an old castle in the city centre of Almaty. The reenactments of night fights have been seen with the naked eye for years. Those who like fighting with metal weapons gather here. They've already become professionals. They aren't given half a kingdom or a princess as an award, but get bruises, certificates, and the winner's fame. I get moral satisfaction when I see that a person defends themselves.
Когда я вижу, как человек побеждает себя.
That is, figuratively speaking, I teach people to defend themselves and understand there are no such words as cannot and don't want to. Everything is possible, and any result can be achieved if you're diligent and do your best.
Существовать в человеческом лексиконе, потому что возможно все и достижим абсолютно любой результат при правильном усердии и должном усилии.
Artyom Grigorenko is a knight of our times. He knows how steel is tempered. A school of piety. When will knighthood become fashionable again? How can you defeat a dragon? There is dim light with dilapidated walls around. Everything matches the environment here. The seemingly gloomy place includes a training ground, blacksmith shop, an area for holding fights between present-day knights. There are shields of Viking ages on the walls. It's even filled with the smell of the Middle Ages, leather, sweat and iron. On wooden shelves there are handmade swords, props and other articles emphasizing knights' valor. You can immediately have a look at defensive weapons of an Asian warrior. It's a round Mongolian shield of approximately the 13th century. The shield is put on this way, and it's held in your hands like this, which is different from this one. Proves that it's not so easy to breach a nomadic warrior's defense. It's obvious that a hit wouldn't be received. Artyom calls himself and his comrades in arms reenactors. However, in fact, they are knights. I associate a knight with piety. The knight's cross has 8 ends looking like small triangular crosses, and each of them means piety.
Каждый конец этого креста означает благочестие.
This is kindness, help, disinterestedness, and honesty. I thought about that for a long time, and since I decided to be a knight on all levels, I had to work on my moral values for a few years.
Рыцарем, то не только внешне, но и внутренне. И как бы пришлось еще над собой несколько лет моральной работы вести.
The first knight tournaments were held in France in the 11th century. A knight dedicated his victories to a beautiful lady, and the lady gave the winner an item of clothing such as a glove, handkerchief, or sometimes she tore off part of her dress. This is the place of brave fights and a symbol of medieval reality. The improvised ring is surrounded with sturdy beams. It's the place where the contests are held. Being a reenactor is an illness. You start as a knight and then you realize that you're interested in the things of the Napoleonic era and antiquity and want to try on Indian, Chinese and Japanese armor. In order to achieve this, you have to become absorbed in their culture.
А это и сами понимаете, это означает, что нужно окунуться в их культуру.
According to the history of this martial arts, everything started with a few movements needed for the role. Later, the 4 basic blows included movements that were more difficult. As a result, real sports and theatre activities started. People who wanted to do more than just walking and performing their part appeared. They wanted to hit each other with sticks. Thus, they started considering how they could repeat that many times without causing any harm.
Свои головы о том, как же это делать безопасно, но много раз.
Enduring a fight such as this is already a victory in itself. A judge asked them to be humane towards each other and act as sportsmen and knights would. Be fair. If someone falls or loses something, cover them with a shield, even if they are your competitors. A knight's equipment doesn't allow one to thrash an opponent. You can't wear armor over a naked body. It's necessary to wear a quilted jacket, then underwear, shirts and trousers. There's a balaclava too. It looks a bit like a cap. All these items are made of linen or cotton in accordance with medieval fashion. They help make hits by a training sword which is less painful. A reenactor's protective equipment includes a few most important items which must be made by a professional and have high quality. These things are a shield, sword, and items protecting the hands and shins.
Это защита рук, это защита голеней, и это меч. На этом мече...
Fear kills faith is written on this sword. The master says he's from the ideal variant of reenactments. He hasn't reared or sheared sheep to make a quilted jacket. He hasn't woven cloth or sewn seams of a quilted jacket himself. However, he made everything else himself. Artyom Grigorenko is a programmer by training. However, he has lived in accordance with the medieval concepts for a decade because his heart desired it. He has medieval utensils, clothing and weapons. He studied the knight's code of chivalry and knows when he can fight and when he can't. As a coach, he tries to explain these notions. You can teach a person to fight and explain to them when it's considered a good idea to fight and when it isn't. However, I'm not a satellite orbiting the person all the time and monitoring what they do wrong. Kostya, pay attention to your hands now. I can teach them the ideals, but it depends on their piety and consciousness whether they will use it or not.
Вопрос благочестия этого человека и его осознанности.
Chainmail, shield and helmet are protection against the sword, saber and mace. According to Artyom, people first thought about weapons to fight, and after that started thinking about protection, which had to be better.
Это шлем XIII века, это шлем.
This is a helmet of the 13th century. This is a helmet of the 15th century. The knights participating in crusades liked using this helmet from the 10th until the 13th centuries. This is the next level when the shape of the helmet became smoother since changes in defensive and offensive armaments occurred. Later a circular hole appeared here and solid cast helmets were replaced with ones with visors.
Здесь вырежется круг, и шлем из монолитного превратится в шлем с забралом.
It's like studying history with your hands. Artyom makes chainmail vests, swords, props, helmets and armor himself. When you become a reenactor, you take tools and start making all these things yourself. Of course, you need experience and should understand the process. You must understand how to hit a piece of iron so that it has the right shape. The iron is not the only material you have to work with. You need fabric and protection too, so you have to take up sewing. Then you come to the conclusion that fabric protection is not enough, and you need leather. As a result, you start working with leather too.
Потом мы приходим к выводу, что и тканной защиты мало, где-то требуются кожаные прослойки, ты начинаешь работать с кожей.
It isn't easy to calculate how many tons of iron he's worked on. On average, a suit of armor weighs from 30 to 40 kilos. Thus, it isn't easy to endure a 3-minute battle, and there are 3 rounds.
Человек мало того, что становится здоровее физически.
Besides getting healthier, taller, faster and stronger, a person becomes cleverer, kinder and more intelligent. For example, they don't have the necessary tools, so they have to improvise. They take some thread and a nail and draw an ideal circle using them. Then they have to continue working on it somehow.
Иногда бывает, нет необходимых инструментов, чтобы сделать что-то, и приходится импровизировать, брать какую-то ниточку, гвоздик и с помощью них очерчивать неидеальную окружность, потом с нею как-то работать дальше.
Together with a friend, he made 15 suits of armor using a weight and sledgehammer. In addition, he made 100 chainmail shirts. By the way, each of them has about 30,000 rings. Each ring has to be made, cut, and then they're woven into linen. During a campaign, a medieval knight sometimes wore armor for a few days. It took about an hour to put on and take off. It was impossible to take it off without anybody's help. Armor must literally be shining before a tournament. If you have tools and electricity, it isn't a problem to clean it in the 21st century. However, you can use the old methods too. You take a barrel, put sand in it, then throw a chainmail vest in there and make 2 lazy guards roll the barrel. According to Artyom, lazy people can't be here long. If you imagine that laziness is a dragon like many other vices, this kind of sport helps tackle any problems, including psychological ones. This sword training apparatus is our sports hall confessor. However gloomy I feel, every time I hit the apparatus, my mood improves a little bit.
Забирает чуть-чуть плохого моего настроения. Когда человек побеждает себя, он в первую очередь делает.
When one defends oneself, first of all, they overcome their pain, laziness, and then become more patient in this great victory over oneself.
Это довольно большая таки победа, в первую очередь, каждого человека над собой.
There's a lion in the emblem of our club because a lion is the king of animals and always first. We are a club of the first fencers. This is how we formed our association. Okay, put your left hand on your right knee and bend. The training is exhausting. However, training helps you win. They spend an hour warming up, work on stances and blows. The coach explains that judging from your opponent's stance, you can gauge what blow they will give, and you can protect yourself in the appropriate manner. You improve accuracy by walking upstairs. 1, 2, 3, 4.
3, 4.
The slower you do it, the better it'll be committed to your muscle memory. The better you remember the movements, the stronger you'll feel when doing them. When a person takes it off after 3 hours, it seems that they were in a bathhouse. They're really exhausted. They shouldn't spread their legs and should give direct hits with the sword. Although they don't really fight, the bruises are real. Deliver straight blows. Okay. Bruises become your good friends, and they rarely leave you. It's prohibited to show the parts of sparring. They must remain a secret to your opponent, so he shouldn't know about it. This is an unspoken rule of night tournament participants. This exercise gives us victory. The Blade of the Steppe and Alpha Special Forces Veterans Cup are military trophies in the form of certificates and diplomas kept in a heavy folder. They have been collected for over 4 years. You can count the countries where this martial art has become an official kind of sport on the fingers of one hand. Kazakhstan isn't among these countries yet. However, there are knights ready to tickle their ribs and touch a nerve of the audience in 5 cities of Kazakhstan. It isn't important if a competition is between cities or international. Anyhow, knights do not fight to get a prize. Our aim is to teach a person to defend himself, which concerns moral standards, and teach them to protect the weak, like knights do.
как настоящий рыцарь, как это делал.